Okay.
Cape Town.
No, my daughter told me it's definitely not Cape colored.
It's not? Okay.
She told me that it's definitely not Cape colored.
Okay.
Anyway, now meeting is being recorded now.
Okay. We start.
Please.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I was provided to open the meeting today on behalf of our Toastmasters president, who's on the road. I think he's on his own Jakobsweg, as they say in German, or Jacob's Road. And he is also providing his speech as part of his own personal development program. Bravo, really well done. Fellow Toastmasters, before we start the meeting, I wanted to share something with you. It's a story which I watched from Peter Karanganakis, that is a Toastmaster from Australia. He gave an award-winning speech, and actually it is a speech which gave me goose pimples when I saw it, when I heard it. And the speech was about two boys growing up where acceptance and tolerance was actually the main message. And the lesson was based on the oyster. Please, when you have time, watch this. Together, we create a pearl. And actually in the creation, the process of creation, we need to do that on the basis of bonding together. And that is really, that's what Toastmaster is all about, I guess. The issue is here, who's the pearl and who's the oyster? There are two different entities who come together, and at any time we are the oyster or we are the pearl. And that is for me a very important message. And I hope that we're able, also through these Zoom meetings, to develop this notion further. I'm giving now control of the meeting back to Melanie, Toastmaster of the day, who can start with her agenda of today's meeting. Please, Melanie.
Thank you, Toastmaster Inez, not only for being our presiding officer today, but as the Vice President of Memberships. I believe we don't have any guests today, so I send a hello to anyone else. But my role, I did do a little homework over the last few hours to find out really what my vision is for you all today. And it's just to describe the program and what we're going to do over the next hour together. To tell you the truth, I'm actually quite excited that we have so many of us here, because originally we had thought maybe we would take a summer pause, but we decided against that. And it's probably better, because I believe that it's really nice when we get together, even when we're on vacation, just to share what we're going through each day. And so we do have two speakers today, and we've changed the way. We're going to start first with Tristan, and then we're going to go with Alois. And what's interesting is both have started their journey on pathways. And maybe some of you have been hesitant about looking at the pathways online, but I've had time to look over it, and it's actually not so difficult. There's 11 different paths you can take on pathways, and each has 5 levels. And the levels have a maximum of 3 speeches each. So even one may just have one level, may have 1 speech. And just to give you an idea of what they're called, there's 11 of them. And the first, I'll read them off to you. It's dynamic leadership, effective coaching, engaging humor, innovative planning, leadership development, motivational strategies, persuasive influence, presentation mastery, strategic relationships, team collaboration, and visionary communication. Now, for me, I wanted to go into detail about each pathway, but I think I'll wait to do that because I wanted to start off almost with a theme for today. And for me, a theme sets the mood for our meeting to get us motivated. And I was thinking, what can I use for a theme today? And then I thought of my favorite number. My favorite number is 3. Things, they say, always happen in threes. And I listened to a great podcast, and the speaker on the podcast at the end always speaks to his guests and says, tell me 3 things that you want to be remembered by. I think how words make more of an impact when you say them in threes. Please, 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 coffee, coffee, coffee. And then a great book you may have heard of that was turned into a movie, Eat, Pray, Love. The theme for you all today is listen, learn, and live. Because these are the 3 things I think we're going to hear today in 2 speeches from both of our 2 gentlemen that are going to speak. But before I introduce them, I would like to call upon Toastmaster Maria Teresa. She's our general evaluator today, and she's going to introduce the evaluation team. Maria Teresa.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Melanie. I'm coming to you from the US of A, but I see you all, I hear you all. We have no technical problem, so let's proceed with our program. As Melanie mentioned, we do have 2 prepared speeches today. We will have a sort of a, as I understand it, pseudo table topic section. We also will, of course, have evaluators for the speeches. Toastmaster Tristan is going to be evaluated by Toastmaster Nicole, Toastmaster Alois by Toastmaster Kazeza. People who also have roles in this meeting are Toastmaster Ines, who very graciously volunteered to be our counter. Melanie, who, if we do have table topics, will be our ballot counter. And I believe this is a premiere, and I'm delighted to welcome Toastmaster Suman, who will introduce now her word of the day. Toastmaster Suman.
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone, fellow Toastmasters. And yeah, Toastmaster of the Day and General Evaluator. Today, the word that I have chosen is fortuity. It means a chance of occurrence, and it is usually used in its its verb form, fortuitous. I'm sorry, it seems a little tough one. It seemed very exciting to me to use this. As an example, we could say tornadoes are fortuitous occurrences. That means the chances of tornadoes are it's rare, and the occurrence is not expected. It can be any time that ways. So would anybody like to try the use of fortuity or fortuitous?
I think that.
Yes, I looked it up on my dictionary.
Yeah.
Zufall. That is an easy translation for me.
Okay.
Zufällig.
To what?
Zufällig. So.
That's German.
Exactly. You're cheating.
You can translate it yourself.
Okay.
Good Übersetzung.
Okay. Are we finished? Toastmaster Suman, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so I would like to tell everyone that encourage everybody to use the word as possible if a chance comes. And I would also, as part of being a grammarian, pay attention to all the speakers and make note of all outstanding usages of grammar, as well as not so great usages, and I will report it when the general evaluator calls me for the same. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Suman. We're looking forward to your report. At this juncture, I'd like to mention one thing. Toastmaster Victoria at our end of year party introduced a new thing into our Toastmaster meeting. She referred to it as the grammarian's crown. Now, for whatever reason, somehow even me didn't understand what this was all about. So I spoke to her recently, and she said to me, if the grammarian finds somebody's usage of the English language particularly impressive, or they like a word, you can basically decide to give them the grammarian's crown. So
Okay.
for future grammarians, I want to make note of this special feature in the Toastmaster meeting, the grammarian's crown. Next thing on the agenda is the timekeeper. So it's Alois wearing yet again another hat. He's going to be keeping track of our time. And this concludes my part of the section of the meeting as general evaluator. I return control to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Melanie.
Toastmaster Maria Teresa, thank you for that detailed introduction to what's going to happen today and introducing your team. I also looked up the word fortuity, and for me it was a noun which had something to do with being fortunate or lucky. So I'd like to say once again that the success of this meeting has rested on the fortuity that our members are so dedicated. And with that note, being dedicated, we have two speakers today, both very dedicated with the same titles. Tristan is going to be our first speaker, and he has the competent communicator and the competent leader titles. Tristan has started the pathway of visionary communication, and he's doing part 1, his icebreaker. Now, what does a visionary communication have to do with a Toastmaster journey or pathway? Well, it's supposed to help him build skills as a strategic communicator and leader. His focus should be on developing skills for sharing information with a group, planning communications, and creating innovative solutions. In the long term, this should help professional and personal vision that he must have. So his title today is Expanding Our Horizons, and he has 4 to 6 minutes to do this, and his evaluator will be Nicole. Thank you. Tristan, the floor is yours.
Do we want Nicole to say something first, or?
Normally, yes.
Nicole, would you
Yeah,
first like to talk about?
The only thing I would have to add is that for the evaluation, this is an icebreaker. So you're back to square one, as I like to say. And according to what I have, it's the goal of the evaluation will be to give the member an effective evaluation of his speech, and the goal of the speech is for the speaker to present himself the way he wants, or to give the first speech the way he wants. So it's a very broad objective. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nicole, for the summary of the evaluation, and thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Melanie, for this very thorough introduction. And fellow Toastmaster, it's my honor today to go back, as was just said, to square one and to restart with an icebreaker. I joined Toastmaster 3 years ago, and I'm very thankful to Toastmaster Lily, who introduced me and finally made me join Toastmaster 3 years ago. I completed my competent leadership, my competent communicator, and a few days ago, I said, well, probably I should go and try now to go on pathway and try to complete at least 2 levels over the next 3 months. And that's my objective, and that's why I signed up today to speak, and I already signed up for another speech. For my icebreaker, I would like this time to highlight something different, something that has been one of my characteristics for the last 20 years, and it is I've been striving to expand my horizon. And let me share with you 3 elements of how I have worked at expanding my horizon over the last 3 years. The first element is I have worked very hard at, I'm hungry at learning, at developing. And I have become like a hunter for development, always on the move, never static. And I like to discover new people, and discover new experience. And I hate repeating similar experience, going to places I've been in the past, or remaining idle. I need to be keeping moving, like those hunter-gatherer in the prehistoric times. I'm striving for those elements. I worked so far and lived in 6 countries. I traveled to more than 60 countries so far. And also on the professional side, I try to take each job as a tour of duty, a 5-year tour of duty. And then I need to move on and need to keep moving. And this is an important element of what I've become and what I've been doing over the last 20 years. This might change going forward, but that's the characteristic of what I am right now. The other element is I'm also working hard at seeking discomfort, trying to go into adventure, into experience where I feel uncomfortable. And I think, like most of you, when you decided to join Toastmaster, it was seeking discomfort to start speaking in public. And that was the case for me when joining Toastmaster. But I'm also trying to go on adventure where I'm not comfortable. Right now, I'm on a journey across the Austrian Alps, starting in Vienna and hopefully finishing in Switzerland. And I've done already 700 kilometers of my 1,000 kilometer journey across the Austrian Alps. I probably should be done in about 10 days. And this is seeking discomfort in a certain way. I also engage into activities personally, also professionally, where I purposely seek discomfort. Several times in my work life, I have resigned from position before even starting to look for a new job, just to seek in a certain way discomfort, because I know I will see and expand into new horizons by taking those decisions that are sometimes difficult, but that has always have turned out very well. And finally, I'm very focused at measuring many aspects of my life. And this has enabled me to expand my horizons. I measure plenty of little details of my life, like the countries that I've traveled, each time I take a flight, each time I assess every day on was it a fun day? Was it a learning day? Was it an interesting day? And this could be the subject of a different or a standalone speech in Toastmaster, because I feel I have some kind of an obsessive compulsive disorder, or an OCD, on how I use metrics to measure my life. But measuring metrics in my life, seeking discomfort, and being hungry to discover new place, new people, or new experience have been the backbone of how I have done to expand my horizons over the last 20 years. Now the question I have for you is, what are you doing to expand your horizons? For me, it all starts with a list that I'm keeping of all the projects, ideas, and things I would like to do in my life. And I try to tackle as many as I want, as often as I can. And this journey that I'm doing right now across the Alps started 3 years ago when I had that idea of crossing the Alps, and I put it down on a paper, and I said at the time, one day, I'm sure I will find a way to do it. Today is the day. And I wish you the same in your journey to expand your horizon. Toastmaster of the day, I return the control to you.
Thank you, Tristan, for sharing a part of your journey and information about yourself that's quite personal but fascinating. Interesting how you write down everything you do in your life. Sometimes it's hard just to write a checklist for the grocery store. So kudos to you. So our second speaker, I'd like to introduce, that I got to know recently through Toastmasters. I didn't know before from work. And he is also a competent communicator and a competent leader. Toastmaster Alois is on his pathway journey, and he is under the path of team collaboration. And he's already at part 2 which is active listening. And this will help Alois build his skills as a collaborative leader. The focus for him will be on active listening, motivating others, and collaborating with a team. The title of his speech is, Can I Listen to the Table Topics Speakers? The evaluator will be Kasia. And just to add, I think this is a wonderful title for his speech, because it does happen that we start listening to our fellow Toastmasters and then wander and forget what they actually said. So when it comes to doing the ballots and picking the best speech of the day, it does get challenging. So I'm very interested to see how he's able to do this and motivate us at the same time. So I'd first like to hand it over to Kasia to tell us a little bit more about this speech and what it entails for Alois. Kasia?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters. It's quite fortuitous that I'm joining today. Alois provoked me, and then he jumped on the chance to get me on, you know, and I'm pretty happy about that. Today's speech, or not speech, but his project. The purpose of this project is for the member to demonstrate his or her ability to listen to what others say. And the goal is for the member to clearly show that he or she listened and can use some of the active listening skills discussed in the project. So we're gonna, when we answer, we should make sure that we wait to see if Alois did hear what we say, because he's supposed to give that back to us, right? So whatever we say today, Alois is supposed to show in every way possible that, you know, he heard every single word of what we said and use it in his project to show that he was pretty good at it. So that's all for my part. Back to you, Melanie.
Hey, thank you for passing the control of the meeting on to me. And please start shivering now. Shivering because there is a new coincidence that we have to start a new path. The new path brings us to new horizons, as Tristan said already. And and although today is very hot and difficult to concentrate, I hope that we are really prepared, as this gentleman on that video is prepared. This is my prepared drink. He had a different one there. The basics are also there. I am dressed from the middle to the top. I shouldn't get up. And the essentials are there. So now I have only a choice of 8 victims. No, it's not victims. These people are actually fortunate to become speakers about the heat. So now let me just choose one. Let me choose from that list. Sun Maraya, what is your measurement today? We have actually the hottest day of the year so far. I don't know if it will become hotter or not, but what would you do normally on such a hot day against that heat? Would you stay in the office or whatever? Explain, please.
Hello, everyone. So when it's such a hot day, I would ideally like to be home where the temperatures are cooler. However, what I did today is I still met a good friend for lunch and we had a great time. And I think that was a better way to spend a hot day, because it was more fun and we could share and we could talk, and the discomfort of the day and the heat was forgotten in this meeting. So I think the day went by faster this way.
Is this all?
Is it supposed
Because
to?
you have only 30 seconds used up so far. So
I'm
please,
supposed to go for 1 minute?
yeah, try it.
Yes. Yes, so I believe that sharing and meeting people is best way to spend time. And when it's a not a very comfortable day, then this way is even better to cross by spending it with your friends. And that's what I did. And I would encourage everybody to do the same.
Finished?
Yes.
Okay, 1 minute 17. So let me write down the name. Suman. By the way, I noticed, or I want to show that I listened first. Melanie, the person who will be evaluating me is called Casesa. And Marie-Therese, the person who spoke
What did I
now,
say?
nah, something else. I noticed it, yeah.
I was thinking cheese. You know, I'm here in this Alm area where they make cheese. Käse.
Uh-huh. And the other name which was mentioned is Suma, as far as I understand, not with an H. And anyway, that doesn't matter now. She will explain later on how to make it correct. The second, let me just get. I'm a little bit overwhelmed here with 3 activities. That is done. Now, guess what I have here? Do you see? Can you read? I will read it for you. In recognition of outstanding performance in 2004-2005, President Toastmaster Alois Hofbauer, VIC Toastmasters Club 6390. I got that organized by myself because there was nobody in the club doing that. And now I want to ask you, namely Ines, what do you think? Should the club organize something for the outgoing executive committee members to get something similar for them? I think it would be very nice that they get some recognition, which they have on the table somewhere, and it can collect dust. And but you all the time look back to it and you like it, I think. At least I like it, that I treat it myself. So, Ines, please.
Sorry. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Serving in a committee is actually linked to an issue which was mentioned by Toastmaster Tristan, and that is stretching your comfort zone. And that is at the same time something which is giving us a lot of good learning moments and experiences in as to how to develop yourself logistically, when you look at the content of programs actually at several levels. So that is more than being there, more than a group of warm bodies were just attached to Toastmasters of the VIC Club. It's for me, as for example, the Vice President membership, much more an experience of giving, but also of receiving. I am not a person who's looking for receiving only to, doing something only to receive. It's very much more a process of giving what you have, giving ideas, giving your time, giving your energy. Does it mean that we have to also get some recognition, or the executive committee in general should get recognition? I don't know. That depends very much on what the members, in a democratic process, I think, we really have to get to the members. We have to see what the members would like to suggest. It's a good idea, but at the same time, it is a learning experience. It's, as I said, stretching your comfort zone, learning some new skills, and expanding your horizons. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day. Sorry.
To me, please.
Yeah.
Hey, you give me all the kind of different roles during that week, it seems.
Okay.
Okay, Ines, thank you very much. I know now that that I made a mistake. I didn't give feedback yet, and I'm not sure if I should give the feedback now, right after the first speaker has mentioned it. This is not, there's no instruction on that, but I think it's better for me because then I can remember easier. Okay, Suman told me that it is much better to stay at home, meet with friends, and have lunch and enjoy the time spent together with chatting and drinking cool drinks, etc. She was not mentioning that. That is my invention. But I think that summarizes the whole thing, what she said in the 30 seconds, because in the second 30 seconds, she repeated that with different words. And Ines, who used 2 minutes in her presentation, she told me that she is actually focusing on giving, but is also not against receiving something. The members should decide because we are a group of people in a democratic society, and we are learning from giving. And as Tristan, she referred to Tristan. Tristan tries to expand. We also want to expand, but not as fast as Tristan, obviously, and not as such a long stretch from east of Austria to Switzerland. We should, well, Ines is trying to say, okay, let's have a vote on this, etc. So maybe the next EXICOM should decide on that. So I hope Casesa was listening and will give me a good marks on that. Now, I have written down, that is solved. Okay, I have another victim. Tom, I keep for later on. So I'm just pointing out his name so that he is warned. Ah, yeah. Casesa. No, it's not a good idea to use you. Tristan. Tristan, are you ready? Tristan. Ooh.
Yes, I'm ready, but there's plenty of other people who don't speak, and I hope you will call on them as well.
Oh.
But I'm fine if you want to do it. But
now look, Nico is speaking, Suma was speaking, Tom will get a chance afterwards. Melanie was speaking, Ines spoke already. Who else is there? Marie-Therese, she speaks all the time, so. And it's you, right? So. Okay, now during the Corona time, Tristan, and you traveling Austria, are you, if you wouldn't have traveled through Austria, would you have visited the Danube Island to relax, or the Lobau, or one of the swimming baths in Vienna, especially seeing that it was so hot and is hot? You see, I give you, Tom gets a much more dangerous question. So you get the easy one.
Thank you, Toastmaster Alois. I think during this Corona time, I actually had one of the best time of my life. Actually, if we were listening, we had first of all, I went and discovered the Lobau during that time, because we had to take some air, and we decided with my family to have walks into the Lobau, and in 3 different days we covered most of the Lobau during that period. We didn't go during this COVID time to the swimming pool because they were closed and it was still the winter, but I had discovered almost all the swimming pool of Vienna so far. I'm missing the Kapfenbergenbad, the one on the top of the 19th. This one I have not yet done, but I've done all the other ones, and I love all the bath in Vienna, and I love Gunzelhofer, this little island where you can go on the Alte Donau. And my family and my kids, I can tell you, school was not very active, but they have been very active over the last 6 weeks at the Alte Donau, jumping off the various pontoons into the water and enjoying their time there. So yes, it also, this Corona time, hopefully we had not planned big vacation in another country or in another continent this summer for various situations due to my kids. However, it was a great time for me to stay in Austria, as the government has recommended that we should stay in Austria, not travel abroad. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm covering Austria, and I see how different parts and different hotels are coping with the COVID-19 crisis. And it's also quite interesting to see some differences. But Austria is a beautiful country, and there is plenty of this to discover, and you don't have to wait for COVID-19 to happen to do it. Thank you, Toastmaster Alois.
Thank you. Have you seen the timing device properly?
Not this time, but because I was not on the right screen. But I probably spoke too much because I speak too much.
No, it was 2 minutes, 3 seconds, and that I'm surprised that everything is timed to the spot. Yeah, you must have it. You must have the feeling already internalized. Favorite topics. So.
But I was looking at 4 other people on my screen, and they looked like bored. So I said, now I need to wrap it up and move on.
Exactly. Let me just collect the thoughts which you expressed. You love to go out, especially during this COVID time, and you went to the Lobau in 3 days, successful. I think it was 3 successful days, and yeah, you also like the Alte Donau and the Gänsehäufel. And one other statement was, you have visited nearly everything, all the swimming baths in Vienna. One is missing. And why is this one missing? That one is a famous one because it was the only topless swimming bath in Vienna, Grafenwaldbad. Yeah? And I thought, oops.
I didn't know that until I spoke to you, Alois. You're extending my horizon.
I have never seen it myself, but I thought, what a nice name, yeah, Grafenwaldbad. Okay, and then you pointed out, okay, Vienna or Austria is a nice place to stay, and it is, you don't have to travel to any places, and besides Austria, because it has so much to offer. And Melanie also showed us some photos already on a bicycle, on a mountain top next to the Italian border. So there are many people who are saying Austria is nice, stay here. Next question comes to one president, outgoing president. Tom, what is your opinion on the naturist culture? When you are looking, you like that question?
Absolutely, I'm thrilled. Yeah, you can already see.
I just want to explain a little bit. When you're on the Danube Island, there are two places on the northern part, very far north, and on the southern part, there is FKK. And then other people, and obviously Tristan went even 3 times there, 3 times to the Global. There is also not a tourist place, yeah. I don't know if he has opened his eyes for that. But please, Tom, tell me, what is your opinion about naturist culture?
Well, fellow Toastmasters, dear Alois, before I get eaten up by the mosquitoes that become more frequent now because the sun is going down, yes, the naturist culture is an integral part of Altidona. It historically was one that developed during time. It was actually in the beginning of Altidona that there were more naturist beaches. And I do think it's, well, as the name already contains, it's a natural way to enjoy nature and to enjoy swimming. And there is nothing against it. And actually the kind of interesting, very interesting part is once everyone is naked, there is nothing special about it. And all that we try and all that also advertisements sometimes try to exploit is it's a special way of showing something and hiding other parts. So it's totally different. What we see in advertisements or even in some movies is trying to display some, trying to create actually some sexual arousal in the end, which is totally different to the naturist culture, where they just try to relax and be as they are. And of course, you cannot be more natural than just being naked and enjoying nature. That's basically what it is. And I believe it's a good way to enjoy and to get rid also of a lot of conventions that we have, because of course our clothing and the way we, well, actually our clothing influences the way we are and the way we deal with some other things. So it is a cultural thing, and I believe when you really want to relax, maybe it's a good idea to go to a naturalist beach and yeah, enjoy the time there. Back to Toastmaster Alois.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute 56 seconds you used up, and you explained we should do it, right? Maybe. So, do I have another stressful question? No. Sorry. I learned so much today. I learned that it is so natural that you have to, that you can do it without feeling ashamed, and you just enjoy life as you were born. And yeah, and there were historically more places in Vienna than there are now. Yeah, that's it. That is my finding. Now I have no further question left, and we have actually not so much time left. Now I want to know from Casesa later on if he has written down then my stuff, and in the meantime I will summarize my people whom I posed the question to, which is, first it was Suma, then the second one was Ines, Third one was Tristan. Fourth one was Tom. And let me just finalize. I still have one question. Marie-Therese. Marie-Therese. Hello. Maria, are you smoking again?
None of your business.
None of my business. Okay, good. I think there was one question which was answered already, and I wonder if you listened properly. It was actually answered by Melanie. How many paths are there in pathways? And which ones are you going to take?
Well, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, pathways is something that's going to be brand new for me. I was fortunate enough to have a session with Victoria recently, who explained several of them, but I'm afraid I was not particularly paying attention to the number. It might be 12 with the different paths, but I'm not positive. Anyway, I can always go to Toastmasters International and look it up. So the fact that my memory is not fortuitous, as it should be, is by the point. In any event, yes. In any event, you shouldn't be interrupting me if I'm doing a table topic, Alois. In any event,
No, I'm not interrupting you.
You just did. Anyway, this concludes my table topic. I return control of the meeting to the Table Topics Master, come speaker number 2, Toastmaster Alois.
Thank you very much, Marie-Therese. I have, of course, now forgotten to time you properly. But to give the proper feedback is there are 11 paths, as Melanie mentioned at the beginning, and she even mentioned all 11, and we just go through them by an initial assessment. And yeah, I think the second part of the question, what you will be doing, was not answered. Anyway, these were 5 table topic speakers, some from about the heat, some about about Toastmasters, and I tried at least to listen properly. I'm not really impressed by my speaking skills today, but anyway, I had fun so far, and let me just, who is actually the ballot counter? Who is
Melanie.
the
Melanie.
Melanie, you have all the names, and maybe you send to Melanie the email, or not the email, chat message to Melanie to give the feedback what who is, according to your opinion, the best table topic speaker.
Okay.
And
I hope I can get them on my phone. I'm looking. Oh, I got it. I got one. Keep coming. It came up on my screen on my phone. Perfect. Perfect. Keep coming. Okay, come on. 2 down. Okay. Better turn my microphone off before I embarrass myself. I'm missing some.
I'm not sending.
Anyone else? You're not sending one? Okay.
No. I have 3 jobs anyway.
Hurry up, I'm dying. I've got 2.
Yeah, okay, fine.
You know what they say, Alois, 1 is just never enough.
Yeah.
May I have a point of order?
Oh, yes, Marie-Therese.
Madam Toastmaster, can I propose that we let the table topic votes come in and we proceed with the meeting?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Are there any more?
I propose you let the votes come in, but let's continue with the meeting.
Okay. So I would like to thank Alois for his wonderful listening skills, because after each table topic speech of 1 to 2 minutes, he was able to recount almost everything what people said. And I think that's commendable, because there's times when our minds drift in meetings and we lose our train of thought. And they say that the human mind can only focus on one thing for, what is it, 1 to 3 minutes, I think, something like that. So I think Alois, you did a great job, considering it is a very hot day and it's getting close to dinner time. So I would like to take this moment to have all of you, if you have the time and the energy, to write a 1-minute evaluation to, am I supposed to do that, Marie-Therese?
No, no, you're supposed to turn over to me.
Okay.
Turn over to me as
Sorry.
general evaluator.
Okay,
No.
my paper's outside. Marie-Therese, it's all yours.
We heard you, Melanie.
We heard you, Melanie. Anyway, in any event, as your general evaluator for today, I'm going to be leading you through the evaluation section, which is part of the 3 components of a Toastmasters meeting: prepared speeches, table topics, evaluation. Without any further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Toastmaster Nicole, who will evaluate the prepared speech of Toastmaster Tristan. Toastmaster Nicole.
Thank you. There's a lack of attention from all of us today, but before you start timing me, I must have skipped something, but who is evaluating me in the end? I'm not sure. Tom, you are? Oh, okay, good. So you can start timing me, then I will start the Tristan's evaluation. So Tristan, you're a long way from the time when you said, I remember, am I joining a sect? I don't know whether you still have that opinion, but anyway, what I can tell is that although you're giving your so-called icebreaker, you are mastering the most important, in my view, the most important elements of a good speech, which are clarity, the way you speak slowly, clearly, using a very good vocabulary as far as I could tell. Structure is there. You had 3 points. They were very clear. You summarized them at one point, so repeating, that's another very good element in a good speech. You also, how should I say it? You reflected in your speech what was in the title, which is expanding your horizon. And you were concrete in the sense that you gave examples, like when you talked about, so let me see my notes here. When you talked about your never being static and wanted to develop, you gave, of course, as an example, your travel and your goal at the moment, which is to go to Switzerland. So these, I think, are very important points, and I think you master them. Now, in the evaluation, it says that what you have to work on. In my view, you might want to work on your introductions and conclusions. The introduction was okay, but it was not punchy. It was not something that would catch your audience's attention right away. And for the conclusion, it was good because it was a question. What about us? What about, you know, what are we going to do? But after you asked the question, you went on. And I think it would have been more powerful if the question would have come at the end and nothing after that, because that's something we would have gone away with. Now, the third point is, how can you challenge yourself? Well, it's difficult to say, but I would say that you told us what you're striving for. You told us what you've achieved. What you told us what one of the main characteristics are. But there's something I didn't hear, and that is, what are your weaknesses? Is there something that you never achieved, something you wanted to achieve but you never made it, or something that you think you maybe would not be able to make? You know, a weakness to balance all the very, very positive points. But that being said, you're a very positive person, and that's the good part of you, because it's good to have a very positive president. Back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster of the day. Sorry.
General evaluator.
Oh, I don't remember now who does
I
what.
am Madam General.
I'm not the only
Evaluator,
one.
Toastmaster Nicole. We will continue with the evaluation of the second prepared speech from Toastmaster Alois. I give the floor to Toastmaster Kazeza. Toastmaster Kazeza.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Alois. Now I have 3 points that I'm on the sheet, the evaluating form, that I'm supposed to evaluate Alois on. It's you're excellent at, you may want to work on, and to challenge yourself. First, I'd like to say that, you know, typical Alois, it's nice that you bring humor into the discussion. It livens up people, it relaxes people, and, you know, it makes them want to give more. You know, when you jump in there, and you start off with a bit of humor, so everybody was relaxed. Although you said victims, which you shouldn't, not in Toastmasters meeting, you're supposed to encourage, but you did it in a humorous way, so everybody knew that you were joking about it. You were good at listening because you recalled everything that the table topic speakers spoke about. You did it in your way. In other words, you didn't do it word for word, but you know, you gave it, you gave it back, you gave the feedback back, and then you showed that, okay, you know, the guy was listening, and that was pretty good. Now, which I found that was excellent. I think you did a good job at that. Now, what I may think that you need to work on is making the flow consistent. You know, it took a long time before you asked a question. So the speaker, or not the speaker, the person you chose to speak was waiting. Were you still talking about the speech before, or were you asking them about something, or when it was going to happen? That was a bit difficult. And then, like most times that, you know, when we have multiple questions, you know, we try to keep it in the flow. You don't have to, but I would usually like, you know, when there's a flow to it, you know, so you just sort of, you know, hit off the next one. And you didn't, it was hard to see that your questions didn't necessarily flow into each other. They were completely different, you know, from left side, right side, up and down, whatever. So there wasn't a flow, and you had the trouble of that. I don't know if you organized your questions like that, or they were just impromptu. I do not know. But, you know, if you had organized, one would say that, okay, you had prepared with the questions, and you prepared and asked certain particular people. The challenge that you need to do as well, is you need to get to the point sooner rather than later. You know, you need to get to the point instead of waiting. Somebody just might, you know, sort of forget what you said at the beginning. But apart from that, I think you were good. I like that you put humor in there. We always need that. Even if you're a serious question, I think it's very nice. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kazeza. Now we move on to something that I don't think we've had in our club before, somebody evaluating an evaluator. So I now give control to Tom, who will evaluate the critique of Toastmaster Nicole.
So I will try, although I was not fully aware that I have to do it now. I thought it will be in writing later on. However, the evaluation you gave, Nicole, was quite well structured. From what I understood, you had 3 points. You had the good points, you had what Tristan might have to work on, and as a third item, it was where he was challenging himself. Now, when I go to the first one, you mentioned that his speech was very clear, it has structure, repeating and reflecting. So also there, you tried to capture very pregnantly, very, very pointed, the items that were good about his speech. And you then went on to what he should work on, which basically was that the introduction you didn't find that punchy, and the conclusion where he did end with a question, which you said was good, but then he continued. So in your opinion, he should really end with the question. And about the challenging himself, you found that there was missing, what was missing on his speech was mentioning his weaknesses. And your final conclusion was that it was not only a good speech, but that he's a very positive person. So what we can see is that you did a good analysis and you tried to follow the structure that was, I believe, given by the evaluation comments that were proposed already by Pathways. And you added, well, basically it was all your observations. You added your own opinion and you had a very positive ending, which is always important for an evaluation. And after all, I believe it was a very valuable evaluation for Tristan for the next speeches. That concludes my evaluation of the evaluation.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tom. Applause, 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 applause. So next we move to the grammarian's report. Can we hear your report, Toastmaster Suman?
Yes, thank you, General Evaluator Maria. Today's grammarian, my experience as a grammarian was amazing because I got to learn a few words which I didn't know about. Also, it was great to listen to everyone and it was very inspiring to hear great speech from Tristan, and also real fun to hear from Alois. So I would like to share some great usages that I heard today. Of course, a lot of time from Tristan, that expanding my horizons, which was a good way to share, and it's really good way to make you feel like this is something that's challenging. Never being static was a good usage. From Nico, that I would like to give you the crown for the word punchy, because I had not, I thought that it was a wrong word. It's like it's supposed to be a punch, but punchy was amazing. And thank you that I have learned something today. And yeah, things that were not very right that I would like to share were and process of, maybe I heard it wrong, or recount everything. I think it would be recollect everything if it was capturing the speech or some information. So that was my report. So every good usage, good grammar, everybody really good vocabulary. So thank you, everyone. I feel good today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Suman as grammarian. Next, we move to the ah counter, who was watching all those really embarrassing ums and ahs and maybe inappropriate words we used. The ah counter, please. Toastmaster Ines.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. We were very good. You would not believe it. Alois, I have counted 5 as and other very strange noises in between. Casesa, 2. Melanie, 3. Tom, 0. Maria Teresa, 0. Suman, 5. Nicole, 1. Tristan, 0. And that concludes my report for the R counter.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ines, for your detailed report and positive comments about our speaking. Next, I move to our timer for today, the man who is wearing many hats, Toastmaster Alois.
Hello, Madam General Evaluator. Project 1 was Tristan, and he used 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Myself, I didn't have to time myself because I was just no timing here, but I had to time the table topic speakers. Suman used 1 minute and 20. Ines 2 minutes and 8. Tristan 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Tom 1 minute and 56 seconds. And I forgot to start the clock for Marie Teresa, so there were only 17 seconds left, and she said everything. Yeah, let's go on.
Okay, is that your, okay.
Oh, no, we had 2 evaluators, actually 3. Nicole used 3 minutes and 15 seconds, Casesa 2 minutes 51 seconds, and Tom evaluating Nicole 1 minute 56. That's it.
Mrs.
Thank you, Toast.
I have a kind of a point of order. It is very difficult to see the difference in on the screen on your telephone between the
Yellow and green.
No, the yellow and the red. So I was watching, but I was not really aware of the fact that I was going over time. It's just a small thing, but and it's not important today. But for speeches which are important, I think it's better to have really very different colors so that we can tell. Yeah, because but I can't see the numbers. Huh?
Yeah.
Just a small point of order. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Nicole, thank you for that. I actually was going to mention that in my general evaluation, but let me just see if there's anybody else I need to call upon. Not really. Okay, let me go straight into my general evaluation of today's meeting. We started a little bit late, but that's because we were scrambling to find a couple of positions to be filled. I think we started about 10 minutes late, which is not so bad, but we should endeavor to start on time. Ines, you were wonderful as the presiding officer. You got us off on the right sort of frame of mind. It was very pleasant to listen to you presiding over our meeting. You passed control to Melanie, and Melanie, I appreciate it. I thought you were very engaging. The only thing is, I wouldn't have mentioned all of the different paths in the pathways. I mean, as you can remember now from my table topic, I didn't remember that there were 11 as opposed to 12. You kind of bombarded us, which for me was a lot of information. You also, but were corrected in the meantime, how to pronounce Casesa. That's his name, Casesa. Toastmaster Alois, you had problems with Toastmaster Suman. You called her Sumaniara, which I know why, because you looked at her and the participants in the chat, but it is Toastmaster Suman. Prepared speakers were brilliant. The only comments here, Toastmaster Tristan, can you please try to put your title into Easy Speak and not just give it to us ad hoc, because otherwise we might not remember it. Alois, you need to correct the spelling of table topics in your title. I like the fact that we incorporated what Melanie had started with the power of 3, listen, learn, live. We did that throughout this meeting. I thought that was very successful. We forgot to actually give the speakers feedback. So at some point before we close the meeting, if you would like to give via the chat individual feedback to Toastmaster Tristan and Toastmaster Alois for the prepared speeches. The other comment I feel obliged to make is we should make sure that we're not interrupting. When one person is speaking, it belongs to them and nobody else. At one point, Alois, you were engaged in a dialogue with Tristan, back and forth. That somehow is not appropriate. Go back and look at the video. You started talking to him, he responded to you. That shouldn't be done. Whoever is speaking has the floor and keeps the floor. Other than that, I liked today's meeting. I found it entertaining. I found it educational. I always learn so much for you. And I didn't get a chance to at least tell everybody I'm expanding my horizons, being in my home country in the middle of a pandemic, where the situation here is definitely much more dire than in Austria or in Europe. So I look forward to coming back home next week if they let me in. And I return control now to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Melanie.
Thank you, Maria Teresa, for your very detailed evaluation of today's meeting. What would we do without Maria Teresa? She keeps us in line. She corrects the things that we're doing wrong. I guess we could call her the Mother Teresa of our group.
Without
But
the
it is
other part.
important because I
Without,
do believe you're interrupting. You're interrupting me.
I did that on purpose.
No, it's okay. I think we should still have fun because, you know, this is our vacation time, most of us, and to make light of the meeting. And I am very fortunate to have this opportunity to share with you all, because I think that when we are too correct and we're trying to make the meeting perfect, that we don't really have fun and just laugh at ourselves. So it's good to keep us in line, Maria Teresa, but it's okay to screw up sometimes. And I did want to mention the 1 minute. That's why I said that everyone would take 1 minute to do some feedback, but I didn't have the timing right. But other than that, I have to admit that it has been very interesting today. It's been very hot too. And so with that, I would like to turn the floor back over to our presiding officer.
Melanie, excuse me, I have a question for you, because what is happening to me will happen to all the people who are starting again in Pathways with their icebreaker. You see, in the old system, we had two manuals, the manuals for the competent communications and the manual for competent leadership. And evaluation was in the competent leadership. So in that manual, you had to have an evaluation of you as an evaluator. That was part of the manual. I thought, but I'm not sure I'm right. This is why I'm asking you the question. I thought that in the level 1 of this, where you have the icebreaker and the evaluation, that this part, which used to be in the competent leadership, was put into the evaluation, whereby you are your first evaluation has to be evaluated. But I'm not sure about that. So I've asked to be evaluated.
I will look it up,
because that's what I think I understood from Pathways. But you might want to ask whether this is right or not. I'm really not sure. And for the others,
let me look into that,
your point. Because
yeah,
everybody who is doing an icebreaker and that level 1 will have to do it at one point.
Melanie?
Yes.
I have a point of order.
Yes.
Yeah, Nicole, I did a session with Victoria and I found out how to do a couple of things in Pathways to answer your question from the last meeting. But once I'm back in Vienna, maybe I can give you a call or we can somehow sort that one out. It's not impossible, but it is a little bit long-winded how you get to give your evaluator the feedback for your speech. I promised you an answer and I did get one from Victoria. So I will give it to you once I'm back.
Okay.
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 And with that, I will hand the floor over to Inez. Inez, our presiding officer.
Fellow Toastmasters, thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. To keep with the tradition of our previous president, to summarize the meeting with 3 points, using also the 3 important issues which Melanie has also mentioned, I can see that we have been learning quite a lot of new things. At least I have been learning a lot of new things. We are or have been stretched by the very high temperature. Today it's hot. I have closed here all windows. And at the same time, this has triggered in us the hunger for the next Toastmaster experience, which is in 2 weeks' time on, I think, the 11th of August. I might be wrong, but we will get that confirmed. One last issue I would like to mention to Toastmaster Maria Teresa. I think there is something wrong with the light of your camera, or I think it's better to change the position because we can hardly see your face. I can hardly see your face.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, for next time, just for you to, as a point of feedback, as part of my feedback. Okay, thank you very much. And till the next meeting. Bravo, what you've done.
So, are we going to have an after party? Kazeza, how are we doing?
Doing good.